Hi there and welcome. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're just going to slow down, take a nice deep breath, and learn 20 new English words together. My whole goal here is to make this a really calm, clear, and useful explainer for you. So let's get started on our calm little journey through these new words. And that's really the idea for today. There's no rush, absolutely no pressure. We're going to move at a pace that feels good, making sure each word is perfectly clear before we even think about moving on to the next one. So let's begin. So let's go ahead and start with our first group of 5 words. This first set, it covers a really nice range, everything from giving clues and talking about natural processes to expressing a pretty complex feeling like regret. Okay, so on this slide, you can see our first set of words. We're just going to walk through them one by one. Let's kick things off at the top with our first word, hint. So what's a hint? Well, it's basically a small, indirect clue or a suggestion. You can think of it like a gentle little push in the right direction. A really common phrase is to drop a hint, which just means to say something subtle. For example, you might say, she dropped a hint that she'd like to go to the Italian restaurant for her birthday. All right, let's move to our second word, decay. This word means to rot or decompose, usually through some kind of natural process. We often use it for organic things, like food or wood. Some related words are rot, spoil, and mold. The adjective form is decayed, as in, the dentist found a decayed tooth. Our third word is hill. A hill is just a raised area of land, but it's smaller than a mountain. We use prepositions all the time to talk about moving around a hill. You walk up the hill, you might stand at the top of the hill, and then maybe you run down the hill. A simple example would be, their house is at the top of a steep hill. Next on our list is oval. This one's pretty straightforward. It just describes a shape, specifically a rounded, sort of stretched out shape like an egg. It's a very direct and useful adjective. You might say, the antique mirror was in a beautiful oval frame. And the final one in this set is actually a phrase, guilty conscience. Now, this isn't something you can see or touch, but it is a powerful feeling. It's that deep sense of regret or shame you feel when you know you've done something wrong. It connects to ideas of guilt and blame. For instance, his guilty conscience kept him awake all night. Excellent work. Let's move on to our second set and see how this all builds. This group of words is really all about action, doing things, facing challenges, and having some unique experiences. Let's start with the first word on this list, overdo. The key to this word is that little prefix, over. It just means too much. So, to overdo something means to do it to an excessive degree. You can overdo exercise and feel really sore, or maybe you overdo the spices in a dish. And if food is cooked for too long, we use the adjective overdone. Following that, we have overcome. This is such a powerful verb. It means to succeed in dealing with a problem, or to defeat some kind of challenge. It really implies there was a struggle that ended in a victory. 2 very common and inspiring ways to use it are to overcome obstacles and to overcome fear. The third word here is adventure. An adventure is an exciting, unusual, and sometimes risky experience. It's really about stepping out of your normal routine. A phrase you'll hear a lot is outdoor adventure, which refers to things like hiking, kayaking, or exploring a new place. Now for the word fancy. Now this can be an adjective, but here we're looking at it as a verb. To fancy something simply means to want or desire it. It's pretty common, especially in British English. For example, asking, do you fancy a coffee? Is just a friendly, informal way of saying, would you like a coffee? And the last word in this group is overcharge. And there's that over prefix again, meaning too much. If someone overcharges you, they make you pay too much money for something. A very common informal way to say this is to rip off. You might say something like, I think the mechanic overcharged me for the repairs.
You're doing great. We're already halfway through. This next group of words deals with making choices, connecting things, and the whole idea of replacement. Okay, looking at our third set, our first word is decline. As a verb, it means to politely refuse an offer or an invitation. It's just a slightly more formal way of saying no. For instance, I had to decline the invitation because I already had plans. But just so you know, it can also be a noun that means a decrease, like in a sharp decline in profits. Our next word is missing. This adjective just means that something is lost or it's not where it's supposed to be. It's a super common word for everyday situations. You might say, I can't find my keys. One is missing. Or, in a more serious way, the news reported on a missing hiker. Third, we've got tape. Now, this word can refer to that physical, sticky strip you use to stick things together, but it also has another meaning related to memory, like a cassette tape or a videotape used to record things. In both cases, the core idea is about holding on to something, whether it's 2 pieces of paper or a piece of information. Following that is engage. To engage means to get involved in or participate in something. It's all about active participation. You might describe an interesting teacher as engaging because they hold the student's attention. And the noun form, engagement, refers to that state of being involved. And our final word in this set is substitute. A substitute is simply a person or thing that takes the place of another. It's an alternate or replacement. This is such a useful word, in fact, that we're going to take a closer look at it with a really clear example on the very next slide.
And here we go. This example just illustrates the point perfectly. In this sentence, honey is the replacement for sugar. It's stepping in because the original, the sugar, isn't available or maybe it's not wanted. We see this all the time in cooking with a substitute ingredient or a meat substitute. But it's not just for food. Think about a substitute teacher in a classroom or a substitute player in a game. So the crucial point is that it's all about replacement. And just like that, we have arrived at our final set of 5 words. This group is a great mix, covering everything from very informal slang all the way to a complex philosophical idea. Let's finish strong. All right, let's break down this final list. First up is suck. Now, it's really important to note this is a very informal slang verb. In this context, it means that something is really bad or just poor quality. For example, this printer always jams. It sucks. Because it's slang, you'd really only want to use it in casual situations with friends. Next, we have decorate. To decorate is to make something more attractive by adding beautiful things to it. This verb is the root of a whole word family. The process itself is called decoration. An item can be decorative, and the person who does it for a living is a decorator. Our third word is tax. A tax is an amount of money that you have to pay to the government, and that money is then used to pay for public services like roads and schools and hospitals. It's part of a group of words for required payments, like a tariff on goods from other countries, or a toll to use a bridge. Fourth, we come to a more abstract idea, paradox. A paradox is a statement or a situation that seems to contradict itself, but it might actually be true. It's kind of like a logical puzzle that makes you think. The classic example is the statement, "This statement is false." See? If it's true, it's false. The adjective form is paradoxical. And finally, we have obey. To obey means to follow a rule, a law, or a command given by someone in authority. You obey your parents, you obey the speed limit, or you obey an order. And to really get what obey means, it helps a ton to see it right next to its direct opposite. This slide just lays it out so clearly. To obey is to follow or comply. To disobey is to refuse to follow that rule or command. The words associated with them are really key here. Obeying is about compliance, about following instructions. Disobeying is about ignoring rules, violating them, or even rebelling against them. Seeing them side by side like this just makes the meaning of both words so much clearer, doesn't it? And there we have it. We did it. We've calmly and clearly worked our way through 20 new English words and phrases. Just take a moment to appreciate that. You put in the focus and the effort, and you should feel really great about what you've just learned. So, to wrap this whole thing up, I have one last question for you. Look back at the words we've covered, from hint to paradox to substitute. Which one of these new words are you going to try to use in a sentence today? You know, the absolute best way to make a new word your own is to just start using it. Thank you so much for learning with me today.